Hello and welcome to 365 Days of Healing. Communication. What's communication? I'm communicating to you right now. I'm not just communicating with my words, I'm communicating with my actions, with my intention. I'm communicating energy to you, and you will read that energy because of your experiences and what you see. So I could communicate through the written word, and I did. I wrote this book called Transformations, which is just a guided journal to help people to get their thoughts into gear and so they can really come to understand who they are. So we communicate in many different ways. We communicate with body language, say. Now, if I'm with a group of people and I don't quite trust what's being said, I might be going like that or, yeah, right. And that's communicating a whole lot of things. If I'm telling lies, one of the things is, this rubbing of the nose or, yeah. They're body languages that we use. Or if I don't really like what the people I'm standing near, I might turn away from them and put my shoulder to them, and that communicates that I'm almost turning my back on them. And there are many ways of communicating, and it becomes a lesson for each of us how we communicate and what we're trying to communicate. Now, I've been told that some of my facial expressions communicate myriad things, particularly when I'm angry. My eyes go to twice their size. I get this starely look in my eye, and it's communicating to those around me, you better get the heck out of here before you get then a verbal communication from me, which can be quite a tirade. You ask my children about it because they certainly knew it, and they knew to scatter as soon as my eyes started flashing. So there was a form of communication without any verbalizing, even though I went on to verbalize. And it's interesting how we have come to communicate what we think and what we feel. Now, the more adept we become at reading other people's communication, and I don't mean reading literally, reading the written word, although even there, the written word, they call it reading between the lines. So somebody can write something, and if you read literally between the lines, which isn't written there at all, it may be communicating to you something completely differently at a subliminal level that you're picking up on. The same as if I use particular words and I communicate certain levels of speaking, you may read between the lines of what I'm saying. There's many different levels of communicating, from sort of first line level where we're just asking about the weather and nice day, isn't it, as we speak to strangers coming along, or we might go to the deepest level of communication and talk to somebody else about our deepest yearning, our deepest feelings, our emotional self, and our experiences that has created and that leads to in our life. The deeper levels of communication actually assist us to understand and have more insight into our world. Now, the other part of communicating is the recipient of that communicating, and also we as recipients, so people that are communicating to us. Do we actively listen to what is being communicated? Or are we too busy, instead of listening, developing what we are going to say in response to what is or what we seem to think is being said, or from our own perspective. Now, this becomes a vital essence to communication. The more you actively listen to somebody, the more you engage at those subliminal levels with what is being said to you, the more ability you have to actually hear things that are being spoken to you that may not be being said with words, and you develop more insights and understanding about the person that is communicating to you. Also, if you are communicating, verbalizing, say, to somebody, and you have nobody that is actively listening to you, you will feel unseen and you might just stop talking. And this has happened it's an interesting phenomena. If children, say, don't feel that they are being seen or heard, they actually will and can stop talking. It is a phenomena that happens psychologically, and they are actually communicating something at a very deep level that is often then seen as something is wrong with the child, when actually it is something that is wrong with the parent or the parents that are not engaging fully with the child. Now, you often get with children that they start screaming and yelling because they are not being listened to at an engaged level. They're not really being heard. And so as a parent, I'm asking you to start really communicating with your children at that deep level. If a child is screaming, if a child is over demanding attention, very often it is because you are not being engaged fully with that child. So we can blame the child for being undisciplined or not recognising that anybody else will be impacted by their screaming and yelling, or we can help to assist them to be heard properly so that they can begin to communicate at a deeper level with you, and they feel that they are being acknowledged and heard. In other words, they are being loved, because that is part of loving somebody, is to be in an engaged area of communication. All right, so that's to do with communicating out there. Let's talk about communicating to ourselves. If we don't communicate in a positive, uplifting way, then we can become very despondent and very down. We end up feeling that we're not good enough. So it becomes, again, very vital that we communicate to ourselves with positivity, with uplifting words, so that our sense of self-worth begins to grow. Not an overinflated ego, not praising ourselves for things that we perceive that we've done that we actually haven't done, or thinking we're better than anybody else, but speaking to ourselves that we are loved, we are heard, we are seen. We can become the parent of the little person living within us. And that is vital, because the little people within us need to be heard too. Doesn't matter what age we are. And we can listen and parent that little person within us and make that little person feel uplifted, which actually helps us to feel a greater sense of self-worth. So communicate to yourself as if you deserve the best that the world has to give. and communicate to those around you that they are living in a world that gives them the best that they deserve too. Namaste.